Alright, moving on to the second round of the NBA playoff. Or potential NBA playoffs, I should say. We're going to start with the Milwaukee Bucks versus either the Miami Heat or the Indiana Pacers. I say Milwaukee Bucks because, let's be honest, they're just going to steamroll the Magic.
Yeah.
We can agree on that.
So, I think the answer is the same for both of these teams, but I think it's more interesting to talk about the Heat than it is to talk about the Pacers facing the Bucks. I think the Pacers just can't keep up on offense.
I definitely agree with that. Honestly, I don't think either of these teams are necessarily going to be able to keep up with the Bucks.
I don't think so.
I do think the Heat have a better matchup, though.
The Heat have a much better matchup, and that is been borne out through the regular season because currently the Heat are 2-0 on the Bucks this year.
I do think that would be a much more interesting matchup. So I say we just discuss that then.
Okay. Well, I guess the first thing to talk about is what sort of impact we think Bam Adebayo is going to have against Giannis Antetokounmpo.
I mean, I think realistically, Bam is a great interior defender, and it's gonna, he's gonna be a problem for Giannis. But I just think Giannis is too good.
I don't think the question is will Bam be the Giannis stopper, because no one's gonna be the Giannis stopper. If anything, they're gonna build the wall, right? They're gonna do the thing that Toronto did. But I think what it's going to come down to is how well Bam can defend Giannis one-on-one when they're forced into situations like that. And I don't think he's going to obviously stop him every time. But I think he has the potential to maybe sort of have like the Iguodala effect in the 2015 finals, where it's like you look at James and he's scoring 30-something points a game, and you're like, what do you mean Andre Iguodala is the Finals MVP because of his defense? And then you look at the numbers a little more closely. You look at the field goal percentage, you look at the games, you look at what he was doing, you look at how he was affecting LeBron, making him miss shots, making him pass the ball, making other players beat the team, and then you realize, oh, actually he was doing a very good job. It's just LeBron James is the Cavs, and Giannis Antetokounmpo is the Bucks. He's going to get his no matter what.
100%. And I mean, that being said, I really think this is going to come down to how well Miami can shoot the three. And if they're able to spread the floor on offense and maybe beat them out in a few games by putting more three-pointers up on the board instead of getting those twos where Giannis is taking it inside on them. They're going on that run where both teams are just scoring the ball and Giannis is getting his buckets on the interior. If, Miami can get a few more threes than them and just kind of gain that little bit of a lead, I think that's going to be their only hope of beating this team in the playoffs, is if really Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, and Jimmy Butler shoot the lights out of the ball from three-point land.
So that's like the XYZ factor.
I mean, I would say that's the trio that needs to shoot the ball well for this team to win against the Bucks.
I mean, to be honest, that's how many factors you need to have a chance against the Bucks.
It's true. It's really true. And
there is something I think we're talking about, though. You remember my Y factor for the Heat?
Eric Bledsoe.
No, for the Heat.
Tyler Hero?
Yes. Who does Tyler Hero match up against?
That will be interesting.
Eric Bledsoe.
Possibly.
This is where I think Eric Bledsoe's performance starts mattering. Whether or not he scores 30 a game against the Orlando Magic or 0, it doesn't matter. Because the Bucks are going to beat the Orlando Magic. Now,
yes.
In this series, I don't think Eric Bledsoe can just, be net neutral. Which is generous for Eric Bledsoe in the playoffs to say he would be net neutral.
He's got to D up Tyler.
He's got to D up Tyler, and he's got to score. And he's got to shoot. And he's got to be good. He just has to be the Eric Bledsoe that he is normally, but in the playoffs, which hasn't happened in his career yet. I think that this is where that starts to show, because I think that Jimmy could steal games, close games, right? I think that Tyler Hero is the Y factor. Why? Because he's great.
He really is. He's honestly another one of those players that's just rising up the ranks. I don't think anyone expected him to be this good.
You know who else people didn't expect him this good in the playoffs? Jason Tatum. I mean, they expected him to be good, but when Kyrie got hurt and they went up to the conference finals, like no one was expecting that.
It's true.
I'm not saying that Tyler Hero is Jason Tatum. I'm just saying that he is a overperforming rookie who seems ready for the moment, and that I just think that Tyler Hero is going to have a great playoffs. I think he's going to have a great series every single time. And for him, that probably means like scoring, 15 points a game on like 39% shooting.
Yeah. No, I mean that to me honestly seems something that's very realistic, and I think it'll probably happen as well. However, I still don't think it's gonna be enough to beat the Bucks.
No, I think
when the Bucks step up in the playoffs, it's just I think they might take them to 7. They might take them to 7.
They might.
I really think it goes 6 though, and I just think the Bucks are just such an overwhelming team that it really is gonna take a player like LeBron James to take this team down. I really just think the players that are gonna give Giannis a problem are in the West, and there's just too much in the East.
True.
That's too much in the East.
That's too true. There's not players in the East who can. Oh, I didn't even think about that. Except for Embiid.
Maybe Siakam.
Yeah,
That's an interesting one.
Maybe Siakam. It's tough to say because Siakam's like. It's hard to say how good Siakam is, right? Because like, by the next game you're watching him, he's already better. So it's like.
This is true. Well, I think we can both agree then that this is a series that Milwaukee's going to take. Whether it be in 6
or 7.
Whether it be in 7.
6 sounds better.
Probably a close series, but Milwaukee's probably going to take it.
I could see it being like 5-2, but like 5 close games,
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like not many blowouts.
But I still just think Milwaukee's got the dub on this one.
Yeah.
Well, that being said, let's move on to the next series. And both of us agree that it's likely that the Toronto Raptors move on in their matchup. And both of us think the Celtics are probably going to move on too. So we're going to just discuss those two.
What a matchup.
But Toronto versus Boston. It's another really good matchup in these playoffs.
Man, the top.
Once it gets to the top 4, it's tough.
The top East team is really close. Besides the Bucks.
I don't know.
Really close.
This series, yet again, I think is going to be very, very. It's gonna hinge on how Kyle Lowry plays. Will Kyle Lowry be able to stop Kemba Walker? Kyle Lowry is supposed to be a very good perimeter defender as a point guard. He's kind of a 3-and-D type of guy that can distribute the ball really well. Will he be able to defend Kemba?
He's a good defender on the perimeter. Like, I'm not knocking him, but I feel like that's not where his defensive sort of calling card is. I feel like the reason he's good on defense is because he can play you on the perimeter, body you up in the paint, and then take charges. Like, I think it's his strength and his steadiness, sort of his ability to just stay there and be able to hold off the bigger players until the help comes. And Toronto is so well coached, and they're so defensively minded, and their schemes are so sophisticated, and they're so well run, and all the players understand it, and all the players are so good because they're all veterans. Dwight Powell is the white factor. I forgot to mention
Norman Powell.
Oh, Norman Powell. Thank God we didn't use the original version of this podcast where I said Dwight Powell like 13,000 times. And then I forgot that he existed in this one. But Norman Powell is a serious Y factor in this series, for me. But sorry, that is I digress. I just think that I think that Kyle Lowry's defense is more about how well he plays within the team.
No, I definitely think Toronto is just all around a great defensive unit together. They play really well together. They play great off-ball defense. They have some guys that can play really well on-ball. However, I just think the Boston Celtics offense is going to prove to be too much. As an ISO scorer, Kemba Walker and Jason Tatum are just elite. They're going to get buckets, and that's why I'm picking Boston in this series.
So, I think a big factor in this series is how healthy the Raptors are in the second round. Because I'm assuming that they're healthy for the first round. And they get like Gasol back and Ibaka, and all these guys they had out, Powell. But truth be told, they are just an old, injury-prone team, and the playoffs are when things really get dialed up. So I can see injuries being a factor, not just in this series, but in the first-round series against the Nets. I think they want to get out of that series as fast as they can.
Definitely.
I think a fully loaded, completely healthy Toronto Raptors team with Pascal Siakam playing at the apex of his game. I don't know, man. I think I gotta give it to the Raptors in 7. I just think too good. Just every single player top to bottom.
They're really good, but I personally
think-
think this is going to come down to the ISO scoring of Kemba Walker and Jason Tatum. And when it comes game time in that fourth quarter,
I think
when they need that bucket, Kemba and Tatum are going to be the ones getting the bucket.
No, that's for sure. They're gonna be the ones getting the bucket. They got Kyle Lowry and Siakam as their like bucket getters on this team, which is not exactly what you want in an ideal situation. I get that, but I also think that Tatum and Kemba. So like you said, they're both very good isolation scorers. They both have very versatile offensive games and deep bags. They're also pretty good passers. You know, they're not selfish. But I think that like ISO-centric scoring is what the Toronto Raptors counter defensively in terms of their philosophy. I think that's exactly the sort of thing they want. And if the Boston Celtics do that, they'll be falling right into the Raptors' hands. I think it'll come down to 7, granted, but I think it's just going to be like the grind of the Raptors. It's going to be like Boston, like I said, the Boston Celtics, in my mind, have the best offense on paper. But I think the Toronto Raptors are going to do the best they can to just grind everything to a halt. Nick Nurse is going to pull out some high school defensive box and one scheme or something.
Oh, Nick Nurse will definitely have something up his sleeve to combat this. But
I don't know. I think they're gonna clutch it out with experience.
What I think happens here is you've seen this in the past with the Raptors when they play LeBron James in the East and they have an ISO scorer that can just take it to him in the last little bit of the game. It's tough.
Has LeBron James ever played against a Nick Nurse head coach?
No, but he did play against someone named Dwayne Casey, who is arguably another very, very elite defensive coach. And I think
And yet, how is
Jason
Dwayne Casey
Tatum
done on the Pistons?
is going to have I just really think he's going to break out in these playoffs and just show that he is one of the top, maybe even top 5 players in the league.
I mean, listen, to your point, Jacob, about Dwayne Casey, he won the Coach of the Year the year he got fired, and everyone was like, dog, what? And we're all like, Raptors are stupid. Masai Ujiri, he's stupid. Nick Nurse, who's that? He's stupid. But clearly the Raptors knew more than we did. They were a little smarter than us on that.
Oh, they definitely did. They knew what they were doing.
So what I'm trying to say is, maybe they realized that even though Dwayne Casey's style of coaching got them a certain place with the players they had, Nick Nurse, who is someone, by the way, that they sort of like grew through their G League affiliate, and just he sort of rose through the ranks. From what I understand, I could be a little I don't know too much about it, but I know that they sort of grooming him, and I think he just came up and it sort of just really is emblematic of, you know, the way the Raptors like to do things. They like to develop these guys. They like to grow them themselves. They like to really incorporate guys, let them buy in, like work as a team. And I think he's gonna pull it out that way. I don't know. I just think Nick Nurse is a better coach than Dwayne Casey. I think he's more modern-minded for the NBA. I think he has a better sense of what to do against the star matchups, because we saw him literally defeat Giannis by basically, like, You know, a lot of credit is given to Kawhi. Kawhi deserves a lot of credit. Nick Nurse is the one who cooked up the way that everyone now is playing against Giannis. He built the wall. He did the thing.
The Eastern Conference Finals between the Bucks and either Toronto or Boston. And unfortunately, I just think Milwaukee's gonna win this too. I think Milwaukee's just really good. They're just too good in the East. This is just my pick to win the East. I mean, I think Boston or Toronto is gonna give them a hard-fought, really, really tight series. But I just don't see anyone in the East being able to beat Milwaukee in a 7-game series.
So, here's what I think. I think the Bucks beat the Celtics. Give them 6
You
or
mean
7
the Raptors?
No. I'm saying if the Celtics make it, I think the Bucks beat the Celtics.
Okay.
If the Raptors make it, like I think they will, I think the Raptors are much more well positioned to beat the Bucks. That being said, it's really hard for me to put them over the Bucks. It's just hard, but you never know because you see the teams play each other in the regular season, and you're like, well, I'm seeing this, I'm seeing these matchups, I'm seeing these players do that, I'm seeing these role players have really good games here, and you're like, you don't know what their differences are going to be defensively, you don't know what the idea is going to be in terms of the roles, because those can change in the playoffs, minutes go up, players get weeded out.
I mean, even like you said,
Role players play worse.
what is Toronto's
Going
health
away
going to be
games.
like at that point in the playoffs too?
That's a good point, and that's why I think I just got to give the edge to the Bucks, no matter what. I think both of those teams could bring them to 6 games. I think the Raptors could bring them to 7, and once you get to a game 7, it's like any team can win.
It just depends on who balls out in that game.
But given that it's at home, they have the best record, they have the MVP. They're, as much as I laud the depth of the Raptors, the Bucks are as, if not more deep. I think it's just.
And just have Giannis.
It is have Giannis. And Giannis could, for all we know, shoot 36% from 3 in the playoffs. And what do? You lose.
Maybe Giannis has been training in the gym during this whole social distancing, and he's just been working on his 3-point shot. Maybe he's a good god 3-point shooter. Who knows? All I gotta say is Milwaukee wins the East.
Yeah, as much as I am. Although I'm rooting for the Raptors. Let's put it that way.
Alright, and now we'll move on to the West, where we have a first-round matchup of the Lakers versus the Jazz or Oklahoma City Thunder. And yet again, I think the Lakers win the series. I think either of those teams are just going to get beat in 5 or 6 games. I think the Lakers are too good.
It's going to be a sweep of the Oklahoma City Thunder. And yet, the Jazz make it there. If the Jazz make it there, it's a whole different story. I think if the Jazz go up against the Lakers, go in 7 games.
Really?
I don't know. I look at the starting 5 of the Jazz. I look at the starting 5 of the Lakers, and the Lakers have the best 2 players. But it's not like Donovan Mitchell is that much worse than AD, and Gobert can match up against AD. And I think the rest of the starting 5, I just like the Jazz better, and I think the Jazz have a better 6-man off the bench. Like the Lakers have Dwight Howard. As their best 6-man, and they have Jordan Clarkson, who I think is just going to be a more impactful player.
Likely Dwight Howard would start in this series, I think.
You think Dwight Howard would start in this series?
Especially if they're playing Gobert, and they're matched up with that, I think so.
Really?
But
Considering that JaVale is taller and
this here is where I like to bring up my why factor for this series. And I think this is a player that's going to come off the bench for the Lakers and show you what he does in the playoffs.
I know who this is.
And it's playoff Rondo.
Yeah, of course.
Every time this man gets into the playoffs, he plays so much better than he did in the regular season. You saw it on the Pelicans. He just takes his game to another level. He knows he's old. He realizes, during the regular season, he doesn't need to play that hard, especially on a good team like the Lakers, who's the 1 seed. And, once the playoffs roll around, he just takes his game up that extra notch and facilitates, plays defense, and does everything really well.
So, here's my argument to that. They put Rondo out there, and they're gonna put Mitchell on Rondo, and Mitchell is just gonna play Rondo off the court.
I mean, that's saying, that's one of their starting players and a bench player. But
Yeah, but you're saying the bench player Rondo is gonna come off the bench and Rondo probably finish the game, right?
probably, maybe. It depends on who's playing well.
Well, I think Donovan Mitchell's gonna be playing well. I think he's gonna dribble, shoot, and Rondo's gonna be like, oh, I'm so short. Then he's gonna go on offense, gonna dribble around, turn it over, and then LeBron James is gonna be like, Vogel! Bench his ass. That's what I think is gonna happen.
I disagree with that one. I really think, even if Rondo's on the court, I still don't think he's gonna be matching up against Donovan Mitchell.
Who does he match up against? Royce O'Neal? Like, that's even worse.
No, there's other guards on that team too.
I mean,
who do you think the Jazz are putting out there as their final five in the last 5 minutes of the game?
So it's Donovan Mitchell. It's man, that's tough. Because you want. That's actually really
Clarkson?
No. Here's what I'm thinking.
Donovan Mitchell?
Is
Joe Ingles?
So you have Mike Conley and you have Jordan Clarkson. Mike Conley will start, and Jordan Clarkson's gonna come off the bench. But if Jordan Clarkson is having one of those games, he will finish. If he's having like a 15, 16 point game in like 25, 26 minutes, then I think you let Conley finish if he's just being steady like Conley does. I think Conley's gonna have frankly, I think Conley's gonna have a very good playoffs because Conley is typically pretty solid in playoffs. He's a very steady point guard, which I think is really what the Jazz want. They want that consistency so that Donovan can really find his footing and dominate. But so you have those two sort of vacillating depending on who's playing the best. You have Donovan coming on. And then depending on the matchups, you have Royce O'Neal and Joe Ingles. Joe Ingles, I think, is going to be more important if the other team doesn't have as good of a small forward on offense. Because he's better on offense than Royce O'Neal is. If the other team has a dominant 2 or 3, you want Royce O'Neal to guard their best perimeter player. But I think for the Lakers, it's going to be Joe Ingles because I just don't think they have that player.
Yep.
For the 4, obviously it's going to be Bogdanovich. He's going to be one of the most important players in the Jazz for every series. I think, frankly, he will be the leading scorer in the playoffs for the Jazz. I think Donovan Mitchell is going to play really well, but I think his all-around contribution is going to be more important than Bogdanovich, who's going to be a pure scorer in these series. And you got Gobert at 5. I don't think you could possibly bench him unless he's. Oh, it would be. He's getting traded because he's benched in the conference finals against the Lakers.
What I have to say is that argument that you just made. You have all these players that you can put in different situations. I think the Lakers have the exact same thing.
I think the Jazz have better role players.
I disagree with that. I think the Lakers as a team, when it comes down to the final 5 minutes, it's if Rondo's playing well, he plays. If not, you just give LeBron the ball. Let LeBron handle the ball. Who on the Jazz is going to stop the best player in the NBA?
Rudy Gobert. And I'm not even saying that facetiously. I'm not saying Rudy Gobert is going to guard him one-on-one. You know what I mean?
Of course not.
You're going to put probably, if I had to guess, you put Royce O'Neal on LeBron for when he's on the floor. And maybe you're gonna have to double LeBron in most cases. They're gonna throw out to AD, and that's why I think Gobert is so important because they're gonna throw it to AD off the double team, and then Gobert's gonna defend the paint. And I think okay, let me put it this way. I think this is the best matchup in the playoffs for Gobert. Because I think the Lakers are not the best 3-point shooting team. They don't have shifty guards who's gonna run them around. They have JaVale, Dwight, LeBron, AD, which is great because you have 4 of the best shot blockers and rebounders in the league, and they can all do other things too. That's awesome. That's why the Lakers are so good. That's one of their strengths. But one of the strengths of the Jazz is, hey, if you're going to try to bang in the paint, we have this guy named the Stifle Tower from France who's going to literally block every single shot that you try, or try to block every single shot. His impact is felt more in the deterrence of people, like for instance, Rondo, who is not going to be getting layups against Gobert. That's just not going to happen.
No, I agree, and I don't want to take anything away from Gobert, but at the same time, every single playoffs that I've watched that LeBron James takes part in, when it comes down to that give LeBron the ball point in the game, it's just really tough to deal with, and unless you have an elite player on the opposite end that's gonna, guard him 1v1, do something like that, like Kawhi, PG, Giannis. LeBron usually just takes over the game and wins. I just think that's what's gonna happen in the series. Is late in those games, LeBron's gonna get the ball, score the ball, and win the game.
Listen, I get that. I just think in terms of what they have, like I said, LeBron and AD are the two best players in this series. That's pretty undeniable. I think right after that it's Donovan and Gobert, or however you want to rank them. I think they're very close, but I think they're the next two. Yeah. And then after that, I think that if you wanted to rank out every player in this series, I think the Jazz role players just kind of have the leg up on the Lakers one, especially when you consider what the Lakers role players are gonna have to do. Because
I'm not trying to say the Lakers role players are better. I'm just saying I don't think the gap is big enough between the two.
I just don't think
make up for LeBron and Anthony Davis.
I just don't think Rondo can score in this series. Because think about it, he's going to either have to become a jump shooter, which is a win for the Jazz, or he's gonna go in and try to penetrate, where he's either gonna get stripped, make a pass so someone else can take the shot, or get blocked by Gobert.
I mean, I'm not saying Rondo's gonna have to score. I'm just saying, his ability to facilitate, to start moving the ball. I mean, it's going to be LeBron who's going to be doing the scoring. It's going to be Anthony Davis who's going to be doing the scoring. We all know that.
KCP's
going to need to make jump shots. Caruso's going to need to do something.
I'm playing devil's advocate here. I think the Lakers will win. I think it would maybe go to 6 or 7. But I think the situation where the Jazz do win is because Anthony Davis gets shut the fuck down by Rudy Gobert.
I definitely think that would have to happen, but I still think LeBron might be able to pull it out on his own. But
disrespectful of the Jazz. Anyways, moving on. I think we both agree the Lakers are going to take that. I think it's more interesting than all that.
Another interesting series: the Los Angeles Clippers versus the Denver Nuggets.
I think we're going to clash on this one too.
It is possible.
This one I actually do have the Nuggets. And I feel not too bad about that. I feel pretty good about that, actually.
I think this might surprise you as well, but I actually have the Nuggets too.
Ooh.
Although, contrary to popular opinion, the Clippers are good, but I just think their team, it's going to show how much their team, doesn't mesh together with some of the role players that they brought in this series in particular.
This is really
against the Denver Nuggets, who just move the ball, shoot the ball, defend. They do everything so well. Their whole bench unit's really in sync with their starting lineup of you move players in and out. They all play well together. They all fit the system. They all do those things.
There's so much chemistry. There's so much experience with each other. They're a solid 9 deep. You don't have to be 9 deep, but if depending on matchups things, they are 9 deep. You would feel comfortable giving their top 9 players whatever minutes you need from them.
100%.
Jokic is going to eat. He's going to eat a lot of Zubac. He's going to eat a lot from Montrezl hand. He just has all the good matchups. You're gonna have
What about Joakim Noah?
Well, I forgot about Joakim Noah. Does Joakim Noah even play these playoffs if the season resumes?
Who knows?
I feel like that's an iffy main.
Maybe Joakim Noah will be the X factor in this series and shut down Nikola Jokic.
He's gonna be the Z factor.
Hot take. Just kidding. That's not gonna happen.
I think this is really. Do you remember what I said before? To keep something in your pocket for the next round. It's the can of Marcus Morris Sr. and it's the can of Reggie Jackson. You open it up and it stinks. It's rotten. That is a struggle. If you got those guys coming off the bench and potentially playing with Kawhi and PG,
Especially
or maybe just one of them,
they're going to be matched up against Monte Morris, Michael Porter Jr.
just younger, athletic.
Although Marcus
better
Morris,
shooters.
I do think he's a little better than what you're giving him, but I think Michael Porter Jr. is going to cook this man.
Listen, notice for the Marcus Morris Sr. Because he is quite good. Like, we saw how good he is with the Knicks this year. If you give him the ball and give him minutes. But I think that sort of play is not conducive to what you need at this point in the playoffs. Because he needs to have the ball, he needs to be making the decisions, and he needs to be having the confidence to take a bunch of shots. Because he's a volume scorer when he's a volume shooter. But when we even saw this in his limited time. Granted, it was very limited time with the Clippers, but when he was relegated to more of a catch and shoot role, he did not make as many threes. He was not as comfortable. I think in the playoffs is when players really start to. That's when egos start to clash, especially when the coach tells you a certain thing like, "Hey, you need to be in your role," and he's like, "Well, I'm going to score because I know that I can." And he can. But it's not going to be what's best for the team, and I think that's what's really going to hurt them. It's not that it's going to be like Marcus Morris Sr. or Reggie Jackson or Montrezl Harrell or Lou Williams play particularly bad. I just think that all of these different things meshing together are more addition, whereas all of the Nuggets players coming together is like multiplication.
I 100% agree with that, and I think for me, the Clippers might be my top team that just plays like isolation ball between their like offensive players. They're just gonna give the ball to Kawhi.
Think about how many players they have that do isolation.
They're just gonna ask PG, Kawhi, and Lou Will to score on their own. The passing's not the best on that team. They have elite scoring ability. But the Nuggets as a unit and as a team they're just really in sync. And I just think it's gonna just prove to be just a little bit too much for the Clippers. And I mean,
also, Jokic is gonna look.
It's tough to say, but I got the Nuggets in 7.
I mean, I got them in 7 too. But it's like I'm thinking about it too. Like, listen, I think that Jokic is better than Paul George, especially for the context that we're in, where he's not meshed well with the team. He's coming, off his shoulder and stuff. I think Jokic is better than Paul George. I think that's not like a super controversial opinion, though there might be some people who disagree. Whatever, that's fine. If you think Paul George is better than Jokic, that's fine. He's not, because he doesn't lead teams like Jokic, but whatever. Jokic is going to look like the best player in the series. Like, better than Kawhi. Like, Kawhi is the better player between him and Jokic. This is like a dream matchup for Jokic. Jokic is just going to get whatever he wants, whenever he wants. He's like, I think after he's retired, if this matchup happens, which I really hope it does, because I think this would be such a fun series to watch.
It would, definitely.
I think when we look back on the iconic Jokic performances or the best highlights, I think this is the series where he's really gonna be damn, Jokic is what are you gonna do against him? If you don't have someone that's there to stop him, it's like you don't stop him. And I know that sounds really simple and stupid, but it's kind of what the Clippers are dealing with right now.
100%. And my final comment on this series is I just think this is the Clippers are a team that brought in a bunch of players. They're good, but how long these players had to play together, and the Nuggets are a team that have just had the same core for multiple years. They've meshed together. They've kind of figured out what their strategy is, and I just think that's what really shows in the playoffs, and I think that's what wins in the series.
All right, moving on to the Western Conference Finals between the Nuggets and the Lakers. That's going to be controversial. I think people are going to call us stupid if this is watched. People will call us stupid for choosing the Nuggets over the Clippers.
I 100% think so too. I would like to see
those people should make a podcast.
A conference finals against the Lakers and Clippers, because that would just be, you know, that
I-
would solidify LA as the mecca of basketball, and that would just be kind of interesting. But
Do you know what I want to see?
this series,
No. I want to see the Nuggets versus the Jazz in the conference
of
finals.
course you do. But that's not gonna happen.
I mean, it could. There's a non-zero chance.
It's
that
true.
can happen.
Oh, 100%. But we will be discussing the Denver Nuggets versus the Los Angeles Lakers, and in this series, I think it's going to be another really close one between, you know, very similar with the other one. You know, the Lakers have a little more ISO ball, the Nuggets have a little more team ball, but I just think the Lakers function better as a unit than the Clippers do, and I think the Lakers take this one. I think they're the number one seed for a reason. Anthony Davis and LeBron James as a tandem, I just think it's just too overwhelming. It's two of the top 5 players in the NBA. They're so good, and you know, it's just I just think they're overwhelming.
All right. I'm gonna take the Nuggets in 7. Every playoff series in this playoffs, the 7-game series, first of all.
Of course,
I'm taking the Nuggets in 7.
it's a good playoffs if it happens.
I'm taking the Nuggets in 7. Oh, if it doesn't happen, we could extend our finals. The Warriors.
True.
I get the Nuggets in 7, and I'm going to put a stipulation on that, which is I think Gary Harris is going to realize a little more offensive potential than I think people are expecting. What I mean by that is I think that a lot of what's been happening to Gary Harris is mental, because it's not like he's gotten less athletic. It's not like he's gotten, you know, stupider at basketball. He has a very high basketball IQ. He makes the right passes. He is he's an underrated finisher. This man has circus finishes. He's so much fun to watch when he's rolling. He's a good defender. I think that he's like, something's gonna happen. He's just gonna like make a few threes in a row and it's gonna click for him. And all of a sudden, he's just gonna be like back to where he was before. And then he's just gonna come into this Nuggets team that is like been waiting for him. They chose him over Malik Beasley, even though Malik Beasley is like all intents and purposes much better offensive player right now. Granted, I think they did that because of his defense and they value the defense over the offense because they have so many offensive weapons. But I just think he is going to start shooting well, especially if there's no crowds. That's one of the fun things to think about in terms of how this playoff is going to happen, is where it's going to be, how it's going to be filmed.
That's also
Who's gonna be
100%
there?
true. The other thing I think is really interesting about that is when it comes down to that game 7. Usually you have your home crowd behind you, and the higher seed has that slight advantage of, you know, they have their home crowd backing them. It's tough to play in the away environment. But in these playoffs, that's just not the case. There's not going to be that same presence of the fans just in your face, making that noise and like making it hard for you. And the mental is going to be completely different.
I personally think they should have the other teams, as the eliminated teams, be the peanut gallery.
That would be a fun one, I must say. I also must say I'd love to see, maybe a player brawl.
Oh,
That could get quite saucy. My last comment on this is I still think LeBron's the best player in the NBA. And I just think it's going to prove to be LeBron's just too much for whatever team he comes up against in this playoffs. Now that he has a second piece on his team, like Anthony Davis, who's just another elite player, it takes a little bit of pressure off LeBron in those situations where, you know, he maybe has choked a little bit in the past or not played the best. You know, he's got a little bit of that pressure off him because he's got Anthony Davis there. And that's just going to be what it is. I think that takes him to the finals.
So I'm going to expose myself a little bit here. I think if it has not become obvious already, this is me officially saying this is the year of the Nuggets. And there's a little spoiler for what we're about to talk about next, but the Nuggets are winning the championship this year. Jokic is going to explode as the best center in the league. Jamal Murray is finally going to put it all together. Gary Harris is going to get his offense back, and the whole team is going to play very well. And stupid, what's his name? Jeremy Grant is going to be amazing. He is going to be like the low-key MVP, the Y factor, as I like to call it. Now, we don't know who's going to match up in the Western Conference Finals, but if the Nuggets do match up against the Lakers, like we predicted, I'll make a slap bet with you that the Nuggets win.
Deal. You'll see it on camera, folks. And this leads us to our NBA Finals, which is a potential Milwaukee, maybe Toronto, maybe Boston. Could be the Lakers, could be the Clippers, could be the Nuggets, could be the Jazz. I think
It's really hard.
it's really hard, and I think instead of us debating it,
I think
we should hear your opinion in the comments.
Yeah, because we had so many different configurations of the playoffs and like who could make it where, and like, you know, one game here could change, then match up for the next one, which could change who makes it based on what we said. So I'm not going to think of it in terms of who we got these to match up in the finals based on our predictions, but instead just who I think is going to win the whole thing no matter what. I think we both think it's like the Nuggets or whoever comes at, or sorry, we don't both think it's going to be the Nuggets.
Definitely not.
We think it's going to be the Bucks versus whoever comes out of the bloodbath that is the West.
I 100% agree with that.
So I think it's going to come down to which team do you think can match up against the Bucks if they come out of the West. I think the Nuggets can beat the Bucks. I think they have that potential. I think they have the potential to beat every team in the league, including the Lakers. Like I said, I think the Nuggets are going to win.
Well, I'm going to contradict you and say the Lakers are going to win. I think the Lakers versus the Milwaukee Bucks is going to be the finals. I just think this is a year where the two top-seeded teams in each conference really just show why they're the best teams in the NBA. I think that's going to be the finals. I think it's going to be really, really close in that series, but I'm still going to give the edge to my boy LeBron James as the best basketball player in the NBA. And I think he'll cement his legacy as, I'm not going to say it, he's not the GOAT. Even if he wins this, still not the GOAT. Jordan's better.
He's gonna cement his legacy.
I think he'll cement his legacy as the second best player ever in basketball history. The argument can be there that he might be the GOAT, but
the scope.
That can be discussed another day.
The SGOAT.
Well, thank you for tuning into Basketball Variety Hour with Jacob and Cole. Please let us know what you think about our predictions and what your predictions are in the comments. And thanks for watching.
On the Depot trade for now?
Yeah. That was all long enough. I knew it, dude.
What to talk about?
Well, I knew it. I was like,